Pretty good. What's up, guys? Are we back? Are we live? Lord only knows with this connection. Huge explosion, massive explosion out in California. 6 people injured. They had an update. We're going to play the update here in a second, but I just wanted to show you the damage that was done. 6 people taken to the hospital. Incredible. We're live? Okay, we're live. We're live. There we go. My computer's acting out too. This thing is crazy. They're saying it was a gas type of explosion. Let me give you some of the details and then we'll skip to the presser. This was on the 800 block of Lewelling Boulevard in Hayward, California, a densely packed residential area. And they're saying that there was third-party construction happening. They were digging for what residents say was an ongoing road work. And apparently they accidentally struck an underground natural gas line. What the? Holy moly. And owned by PG&E. They raced and shut off the gas flow, but enough gas had leaked to build up pressure in nearby structures. And boom! I mean, the whole shit blew up. So far, we know 6 people were taken to the hospital, taken to local hospitals. At least 2 of the victims were on stretchers right in the street. They haven't released the conditions or the names. Let's skip forward because the footage just kept cutting in and out. Jesus.
Okay, so it's about 5 houses, 6 houses down?
4.
Okay. So this is something we heard from one of your neighbors, Deborah, that this construction has been ongoing and a lot of the residents have been opposed to it. Talk about why.
We've been opposed to it because we barely found out about it in December of 2024 last year. We got a note on our door stating that they want a right to enter and construct on our property, and we didn't know what that meant. We didn't know the language. And so we were also told that if we don't sign it, that we're going to have to pay for all this work on the road. So they basically manipulated and threatened us that we're going to have to pay for it. We didn't sign this paper. So we all...
Who was that from? Who was the paper from?
From Alameda County Public Works. Daniel, he's the director of the project, and Amber Lowe is the one who wrote the letter.
And we are hearing that there was another construction crew that might have hit a gas line here. Did you smell any gas either earlier this morning or in the past, have you, during the construction?
No, I haven't smelled any gas because they just barely started doing the gas work on there, because this right here, the reason why they're doing this right now is they weren't supposed to do that. But because of the way they took our property, they stole 3 feet of our property, and they made it to where all of our properties flooded during the rain. So we were under like 1 foot of water. And so it started damaging, and so I went and I filed a complaint with the Board of Supervisors, sent them pictures. You know, I've been going to the Board of Supervisors over 15 times, explaining to them what these people are doing to our property. They're stealing our land.
And I understand that you have a lawsuit,
Stealing our
is
land.
that correct?
Yeah, I did
And a
have
lawsuit.
a lawsuit. I sent the timeline to the lawyer today concerning this.
And were you in your house when this happened?
Actually, I wasn't. I was down the street at my other house.
What did you think when you came down here and saw this?
Well, I got phone calls from like 4 different people saying that my house blew up and it was on fire, and I'm all like, what? And so I came over here. I parked around the corner.
And have you seen any damage to your house or any?
I haven't even been over there, so I don't know if there was damage or if there's any damage to it. I know that my neighbors, their house just shook and parts of their roof fell in, so I don't know what happened to my house.
And as a resident in this neighborhood and somebody who's been a long time kind of looking at the area, what is it that you want the government to do? What do you want? What answers or what questions do you have as a result of all of this?
I would like them to follow policy and procedures, number one, when they do road work, because they're supposed to have community meetings with us and ask us what we want done, because they said that they did do that, which is not true. And they took our land without paying us. This is a commercial property. commercial street right here, so we fall under different rules. We follow under the rules under C1, commercial property mixed use, and they actually violated their own municipal code because we're supposed to have 20 feet from our building to the sidewalk, and now it's 15 feet.
And you say mixed use, so there's a combination of both businesses and residents along this street. We understand this was a resident.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. We appreciate your time, and we're going to swing around now so that we can get the news conference that is just about to start. I'm going to go ahead and put the microphone up there.
We also have Sergeant Roberto Morales, Roberto Morales, Alameda County Sheriff. We're going to try to start it right at noon, so your noon shows will have it at the top. So give us about 1 or 2 minutes, and we'll start it up. And we also have someone here who speaks Spanish. So afterwards, we will go to the side and
all right, I just want to detail, you heard that resident talk about the construction that's been going on by their homes and the complaints. She's not the first person who has expressed dissatisfaction with this, but I want to describe to you the construction project that was going on along this section of Lewelling. There were construction crews were installing a new concrete sidewalk, curb, gutter on both sides of the street, curb extensions to decrease crossing distance and improve pedestrian visibility, new bicycle facility, storm drainage improvement and runoff treatment, new street trees and pavement rehabilitation at the time. So that is what was going on in this particular area of Lewelling Boulevard when this happened. And this project, neighbors say, have been going on at least since last couple of years. I've heard the last 2 years from at least one person that lives in this area. So, and if you drive in this area, you see these orange cones along this particular stretch all the time. As soon as you get off the highway, the construction starts right there on Lewelling Boulevard. When you get off right there from 238, this has been going on for some time. I've been driving this area for quite a bit. So there were doing some improvement projects on that area. Let's listen to the fire department now, give an update.
Just to give you a brief update of what we have so far, at 9:38 this morning, we were dispatched to the report of an explosion and a house on fire. Our first-in crews did confirm that we had a house on fire and activated a first alarm and a second alarm assignment. Seeing multiple buildings involved, we moved it up to a third alarm fire, which includes about 75 firefighters or personnel assisting on scene right now. We also have mutual aid from other departments in the county helping to backfill our stations that are vacated while our crews are here. What we found right now is that it looks like 2 properties have been affected. There's about 3 buildings on those 2 properties that are significantly damaged. And then there's a property also adjacent to the 2 properties that suffered some minor to major damage onto the side that faces where the explosion or the fire occurred. We had 6 victims in this incident. All 6 were transported to hospitals, unknown of their status or their injuries. Right now, we're gonna try and get the fire knocked down, the remaining remnants of it, and we're gonna go in and do another search to make sure we're not missing anyone or seeing anything that hasn't been seen already. We'll have another update later today on this.
You mentioned 3 buildings. Were those residential buildings, or were they like out structures like garages?
2 of the 3 look like they're residential structures. The one in the back of one of the properties looks like a workshop with maybe a living quarters on top.
And when you said that last time you said that you were partially finished, is it completely out, or what are the things that you're still working on back there?
There's still some fire in the property to the back, which is that warehouse or that workshop that I just described. Once we get that out, we could get crews in there to search the whole area of every structure.
Where the victims were transported?
I do not know where they were transported at.
Were they all residents?
Can't confirm that.
Do you know yet?
Yep.
Causes related to the construction project?
Unknown at this time.
Good afternoon, Sergeant Roberto Morales from the Alameda County Sheriff's Office. I'm the Public Information Officer. So, as the Deputy Chief said, our units arrived within a couple minutes from the Eden Township substation to help out and start immediately evacuating residents from this area. We've been assisting the Alameda County Sheriff's Office with our drones so they can get an overhead look at what's going on, and we're continuously working together to try to make sure that everyone is safe.
In the last briefing, you said you were waiting for somebody from PG&E to work with you guys. Is that the person here? You guys collaborating with PG&E at this point?
So we are working with PG&E. We're waiting for their public information officer to arrive, which he or she has not arrived yet. But we're in communication with PG&E.
The county fire department and the sheriff's office. Just a tiny bit of new information that we can tell you. They told us now a total of 2 properties were affected. There were 3 buildings on those properties. 2 out of those 3 buildings seemed like that they were homes. A third one seemed like it was some sort of back home or workshop, workstation area, and there's a fire that is still actively burning in that part of the area. So the firefighters right now, they are still working on getting rid of the flames, still dousing water onto where the explosion happened. They say the fire is still burning in that part of the area, and you can see fire crews very much still there at this point. They've evacuated pretty much the entire block. They still let us know that about 6 people went to the hospital. They do not know the extent of their injuries. They say at least 2 of those victims might have been workers who were working in that workshop. The others likely might have been people who lived in the area. The sheriff's office there supporting the fire department, helping with those evacuations. They're providing drones as well to give an overhead look as the fire department continues its investigation into exactly what happened here.
All right, we continue to follow the latest of this massive explosion that happened in Hayward and Alameda County, right off of 238 and Lewelling Boulevard. This has caused a massive disruption in the neighborhood, but we have seen in the last hour or so, hour and a half since we've been on the air, the white smoke that we saw billowing from the actual explosion site has lit up, has moved out, and there was much more smoke even hovering over the street for a short time, and that also has seemed to move out of the area at this point. This is a video that you're looking at of the fire that started after the explosion itself. You can see a PG&E crew on the scene, as we mentioned throughout our coverage here, that PG&E came to the scene to assist a third-party crew working here to cap a gas line that was that needed to be capped, and that gas line 10 minutes after they capped it caused an explosion, and the roof of this home and several other properties, 3 other properties in the area were heavily damaged. We did hear from witnesses or neighbors who say they saw people who were being pulled from the wreckage of this home that exploded on the scene. Janet Katsuyama on the ground there talking to folks, trying to get the latest information from people in this community about what is happening here. Jana?
Yes, you know, this is something where we asked the assistant fire chief how long this might be evacuated. There is a mandatory evacuation here, and we have been speaking to people who felt the impact, who saw the fire and the explosion from different cameras. I'm going to ask if we can cue up some of the sound that we had, the comments from Deborah, who lives next door, as well as people who live across the street, the Maldonados, who shared doorbell camera video that they got. Why don't we start there with that? Because they said that they could hear the explosion, and when they came outside, they were able to see the fire. And then when they went back to their doorbell camera, they saw the actual explosion of this house. And they said the house shook. They could feel the impact. If you take a look at the video, you can see just the extent of the energy that came out of this explosion. We talked to both Christian and Brittany Maldonado, who live across the street, and here's what they had to say.
We were inside the home just having a family conversation, just business as normal basically, and suddenly we heard a loud bang and it shook the whole house. I wasn't sure what it was, maybe an earthquake, something simple, but it was way too abrupt to be an earthquake, and that's when we ran outside and we saw this explosion, the fire. It was just, I'm not trying to describe it, was just scary, just a big explosion, and I was just kind of traumatized to work for my neighbors. My neighbor's okay. What's going on?
And we understand from another neighbor that there was a mother and a child who came out, was taken, transported, one of those 6 people transported to the hospital, as well as another man who is being worked on in front of the Maldonado's house. Now, we also spoke with a woman, Deborah, who lives next door to the house. She said she could feel the impact. Here's what she told us shortly after that explosion.
Well, I was in bed, and next thing I know, you hear an explosion, and the roof fell in on me, the inner roof with everything. And so I was calling my husband. I thought maybe it was an earthquake, and it took him a while to get to me, which isn't like him. He was in the kitchen. He saw the gas go down on the gas line, and within a minute, the explosion hit. Every window in my house is blown open. cracks in the ceilings. It's destroyed.
Oh my gosh, and you got out safely?
We got out safely.
And back out here live, we have been here since shortly after that explosion. And if you were just joining us a short while ago, the Assist Shimoto just gave us an update saying that there were 3 buildings that they found on 2 properties that have been damaged. 2 of them, they believe, are residential structures. There's also an outbuilding, he said, that looks like a warehouse storage area. That is where there is still some remnants of fire that they are trying to get put out. We also heard that PG&E is expecting to have a public information officer out here in about an hour. And we heard earlier from them that there was confirmation that a third-party crew was out here in the morning, ended up hitting a gas line. They still have not said whether that was the cause of this fire. That is something which we are hoping to get from PG&E in about an hour. But certainly there's a lot of concern about those 6 people taken to the hospital. There's also a lot of relief from some of the people around that there weren't more injuries, because you can see from the video just what an immense, massive explosion this was, and certainly something which right now they're trying to get to the bottom of as to what caused it.
Jana Katsuyama, Jana, we thank you so much for that update from the scene there. You've been talking to neighbors, and we're trying to get as much information as we can to the residents who live in this area, because that mandatory evacuation remains underway at this point. There is no number, as you might have heard during the press conference when we spoke to the fire department and Alameda County Sheriff's Office. They did not have a number on how many people are under this mandatory evacuation order right now, but they do have that area roped off. Many people will not be able to return home for the time being, and of course, that will not happen until PG&E gets on the scene and has a full assessment of exactly what is happening here and whether there's any danger to the public. In this live video on the ground there, you see people just waiting around in this area. This is a well-traveled area, and what was happening here was an improvement project on the East Lewelling Boulevard. It was undergoing some upgrades, including widening the roadway for travel, pedestrian walkways. Yes, was being upgraded with trees at the time, and this had been going on for at least a couple of years now. Let's turn things over to Devin Truby. She is here because she's been tracking how the weather is impacting the issues happening here in Hayward. Devin.
Yeah, absolutely, Andre. I'd like to start with the street view first of satellite and radar, which shows that this explosion actually not big enough to be picked up on satellite and radar that we run across a time lapse this morning. Now we can go ahead and take a look at the winds. As you can see, we have a southwest flow here. Wind only about 3 to 5 miles per hour. So not a huge concern about the smoke moving out into the neighborhood or maybe impacting visibility along any nearby freeways. We do have a look at the air quality. We started off with moderate air quality today. So maybe some difficulties for our sensitive groups. That would be older adults, young children, maybe those experiencing asthma. If you take a look at the dots on the screen, that's where we have sensors. Most of the sensors somewhat far away, but the yellow is moderate, green is okay. We haven't seen any large changes to the air quality. I wouldn't expect the air quality to deteriorate too much as we go on today. We do know about the natural gas. That's majority methane, which runs underneath the home. So the concern would be CO2, methane, benzene, some nitrogen oxides if we're talking about chemicals being in the area. But because it's such an open area, light wind, it should be okay. And now, however, if you do part of one of the sensitive groups, or if you're feeling shortness of breath, anything like that, a mask is always advised. You can do an N95 because the particulate matter can be very small.
Around 50 PG&E customers did not have power in this particular area right now.
We're caught up now.
Be the case here. I'm looking at the outage map right now.
Yeah. All right. So, and then the crews are on the scene. So I'm trying to figure out exactly what they're doing, because we've reached out to them and we're waiting for the spokesperson. As you heard, Cheryl heard the spokesperson for the Alameda County Fire Department say a moment ago that, or at least a half hour ago, 37 minutes ago now, that they were hoping someone from PG&E would arrive on scene, and we're hoping to get an update from them, because we do have to understand from PG&E what the work is that they're doing right now, and if there's any danger to the community, because without them weighing in on what's happening here, residents are going to be wondering exactly what's going on and whether they can return to their homes, or when they can return to their homes, or exactly what is going to be happening in their neighborhood right now.
And we know traffic is tough, so to dispatch one of those officers to come out here, I mean, that's not a quick breeze. We've been showing you the live traffic cameras all afternoon, all morning and afternoon here. And, to get out there is probably extremely difficult. So that's probably what the big delay is to hear from PG&E. Andre, let's talk about the timeline of how this all happened to. All starting at 7:30 this morning, PG&E tells us that they were notified that a third-party non-PG&E construction crew, some sort of contractors,
third party,
they damaged an underground gas line while digging along that road there. PG&E said that they immediately dispatched a crew to the scene, and then it was about 2 hours later, around 9:25 this morning, that they were actually able to shut off that gas line. And it was shortly after that we see the explosion.
All right, I think we have some reaction now. The man that lived in the house that has this camera mounted and is showing this incredible video of what happened here, we spoke to him a little earlier. His name is Christian Maldonado, and he describes what happened when he heard the shock of this explosion and looked out of his house and walked out. Let's listen to what he had to say earlier today.
We were inside the home just having a family conversation, just business as normal basically, and suddenly we heard a loud bang and it shook the whole house. I wasn't sure what it was, maybe an earthquake, something simple, but it was way too abrupt to be an earthquake, and that's when we ran outside and we saw this explosion of fire. It was just, I'm not sure how to describe it, was just scary, just a big explosion, and I was just kind of traumatized, worried for my neighbors, my neighbor's okay, what's going on.
All right, that was Christian Maldonado there, the man who lives in the house that captured that incredible video there. As we've been saying to you throughout our coverage here, extended coverage that started.
As you mentioned, we've seen a number of stretchers there. They've told us that they've taken people to the hospital, but we've also seen people get loaded up to these stretchers, taken into the ambulances, and taken away to get some help.
All right, we want to get out to Crystal Bailey. She is on the scene now. She has been working to gather the latest information to share with you. Crystal, what can you tell us?
Boom! Explosion!
Yeah, I will say I just arrived here on scene. Our coworker, Jana Katsuyama, has been here most of the morning, and, this is just, the scene is really big. Multiple blocks are filled with firefighters as folks are really trying to clean up the scene and get a hold of folks that they think might, be impacted here. So neighbors tell me that they have just been allowed inside of their homes to retrieve items that are valuable and important to them. So I did speak with a young man, or a gentleman named Ven, who walked inside just recently to get his cell phone, to get his medications, and he tells me that his wife, Deborah, was laying in bed when this all happened, and the roof caved in over the bed. Thankfully, she was not injured, but he describes firefighters yelling, "Is anyone inside the home? Is anyone inside the home? Get out now! Get out now." Now, he's a direct neighbor of the home that did explode, but he tells me that he knows 3 people who were injured, that he's been neighbors with them for more than 20 years. He's lived here for over 30, and he's devastated to find out that his home is destroyed. He says that much of the home is very damaged, and it's right before the holidays, and he's here telling me he doesn't know where he's going to live. He's currently going to move into his sister-in-law's home for now, but the devastation on his face as he described the walls caved in and his home, the explosion as it happened, and running for his wife and trying to find her as they ran out of the home was really heartbreaking to hear on this time.
Crystal, I wanted to ask you this. So this man was allowed to return to his home. Was his home located within the evacuation zone? And how long did they give him to go into his house and grab his essentials?
I assume that his house was in the evacuation zone. Like I said, I just got here, so I didn't get a chance to really gather a whole lot of information about where the evacuation zone, how far it went out. But he did tell me that he got inside. He and his wife were able to get their cell phones. They were able to get their medication because they rely on this medication on a daily basis. They were in there for probably a few minutes, and they could kind of survey the damage of their home. So I presume that they were allowed in by officials to go and get their belongings.
I think I heard you say that they live next door to the explosion. I don't know if you're able to tell from your vantage point, but about how far are you from where that explosion happened?
I think I'm probably between 4 and 5 houses away. Like I said, I didn't get a chance to walk the whole scene as I just arrived, but they have us blocked off here on this block, which I think is about from what I can tell, about 3 or 4 houses down from where the explosion happened. And they said they're next door neighbors. They said they had 3 people that they know very closely, that they've been, in community with as neighbors for more than 20 years, that they know were injured. And so, he was pretty shaken up.
Crystal, you, as you said, arrived on the scene a moment ago, and I'm wondering, and as I just want to remind viewers, we have our chopper back up over the scene, and we saw some firefighters on the roof, as you said, arrived on the scene. Building, or what's left of this building, looking out for hotspots here. Crystal, I wonder what the traffic was like, because we do have traffic delays in the area, and that closed exit at 238 and Lewelling. What was it like getting over to the scene?
We took 80, and there was no issues for us coming down. We didn't get a chance to survey the closed freeway, and they did close this block here all the way. Lewelling is fully, I would say the whole block, or multiple blocks of Lewelling are closed. I think if you're a neighbor or you're media, you're of course welcome to come out here, and they are allowing folks who own property around here to be here. I did also get off the phone just recently with somebody who says she owns one of the properties that was damaged, and she is currently inside the home and looking around. So there is some movement here in terms of getting the fire out.
Afternoon. Her name is Kathy. She talked a little bit about some of the frustrations they face when it comes to this project and what they are looking to do and what they've been hoping to achieve in fighting this project. Let's see what she had to say.
Third party, man. Third party. Busted the pipeline.
Well, I got phone calls from like 4 different people saying that my house blew up and it was on fire, and I'm all like, what? And so I came over here. I parked around the corner.
And have you seen any damage to your house or any?
I haven't even been over there, so I don't know if there was damage or if there's any damage to it. I know that my neighbors, their house is shook and parts of the roof fell in, so I don't know what happened to my house.
And as a resident in this neighborhood and somebody who's been a long time kind of looking at the area, what is it that you want the government to do? What do you want? What answers or what questions do you have as a result of all of this?
I would like them to follow policy and procedures, number one, when they do road work, because they're supposed to have community meetings with us and ask us what we want done, because they said that they did do that, which is not true.
All right, so you heard the frustration with residents who live in this area talking about the construction work that was happening when this explosion really rippled through this entire neighborhood, damaging at least 3 properties in this area along the 800 block of Lewelling. I think it was around 868 Lewelling. This explosion happened when it took place around 9:35.
You live in Hayward, really?
Is roughly the time that this happened. And we're looking at these live pictures from SkyFox. And just the damage caused by the explosion, and the video that we showed you earlier, this is a result of it right here. I mean, there is debris thrown everywhere, and that's just in the central area where this explosion happened, not counting, neighbors who live, a few houses down where this might have been affected, because we did hear from a woman earlier who said, her property was damaged by the explosion. She lives a couple of houses away from where this happened, but you can barely make out that there was even a home here. You just see this big, massive, burnt-out pile of rubble on the scene. We understand that PG&E has arrived on the scene. We're waiting on an update from them because they can provide a little bit more information about what residents can expect in the hours and days to come here. This did happen in a gas pipeline, so they are going to be heavily part of the investigation into exactly what happened here and what will happen next.
Let's keep this live picture here, because this is really the first time that we're able to see it as clear as it is now. The smoke is practically gone at this point. I think you still see a water hose going. We know the fire department said that there was a property, or a building, a small little building in the backside of the property that still had active flames to it. But take a look at that, because you can very much make out and see where the homes were supposed to be, kind of what this part of the neighborhood should have looked like. And you can see just how much of a range that explosion had. I mean, I can almost make out the center of it, and just how much of it actually blew out there. And you can see the properties behind it where the water is still spewing and trying to put out some of the hot spots. That back property is still somewhat intact, but you can see walls that have blown over. It looks like you see what I'm seeing here. Andre, right? What looks like just a giant hole kind of in the middle of that property. And people have described it as an earthquake. They thought it was a bomb that had gone off. It very well felt like it to them. So it's such an incredibly stunning image to look at here. Of course, eye-opening when you actually see the video of the explosion itself, but seeing the aftermath, too, it really takes you back. Yeah, there's a mandatory evacuation order that remains in effect in the area. Mark Nouveau, former FEMA coordinator, joins us live again. And Mark, we just heard that report from Crystal Bailey a short time ago. She said that at least one resident lives next to where this explosion happened was allowed to go back into their home to retrieve some basics. In your experience in covering these disasters, when is a time that someone can, you know, because you run out of your house, you forget your medication, your phone is a necessity these days to do just about anything. In your estimation on something like this, you know, is that a safe time where we're at right now to get some people to get into their housing, even just temporarily, to retrieve some essential items?
Yeah, exactly, Andre. That's what they're doing. It's settled down enough and it's safe enough. The gas leak's capped. They've been able to extinguish that fire. Now, keep in mind, when we're talking about a gas line explosion and rupture like that, you know, they initially had sent one engine for a gas leak. En route, they found out they've got an explosion and fire. They've upped it to 3 or 4 alarms. They arrive on scene. They've got 6 people injured in the front yard. They've got flames, you know, throughout the house. In the adjacent homes, they've got debris, you know, in the roadway. It's just kind of chaos when you arrive. And they did a good job of getting in there, getting those people treated and being able to keep the fire contained to pretty much the building and buildings of origin. So that was wonderful. In terms of getting people into their houses, they're going to do that ASAP so they can get exactly what you said, their phone, change of clothes, any medications, important papers, whatever they need to be able to find a place to stay for a period of time. I'm sure Alameda County Fire Department's got a request for Red Cross to come out and help some of those folks to give them temporary living facilities. And they're going to allow them to get in. They're going to use gas detectors before they send anybody in there in terms of the people, the residents, and make sure it's clear. And they're going to get them in there, get the stuff that they need, and get them out as soon as they can. Now, as far as them getting back into their homes for permanent living, that's going to be a few days, no question.
Mark, can we talk about what actually led to the explosion here? You mentioned this a little bit earlier in the morning when we first started our coverage just before 11 o'clock. But for anyone who might have joined us after the fact here, you'd mentioned what some of the elements that could have been in place to lead to this kind of explosion. Can you go over that again one more time for us?
Sure. It looks like what happened was long-term construction project, probably moving one of the gas lines. It looks like it's a major distribution line, not a small residential line. The contractor hit that line on accident. Again, this is just conjecture based upon some experience in what we're seeing. Hits the line, it ruptures that line, puts, you know, some sort of, either breaks it in half, puts a crack in it, something of that nature. And keep in mind that this natural gas is under great pressure. So as that, you know, pipe cracks or breaks in half, a tremendous amount of natural gas is flowing all over that area. And so as they're starting to realize, uh-oh, we got a problem here, let's call for additional help, that gas is dispersing, it looks like, inside that structure.
Mark,
yes.
Go ahead, Mark. Keep going. I'm sorry. My apologies.
That gas then seeks out, you know, either somebody can turn on a light switch or they can turn on a hot water tap that ignites, you know, the water heater, some sort of flame, something that creates combustion, and then it doesn't just burn like a firewood, it explodes. So
something that easy.
Structure.
Even a water heater, huh?
Wow.
Could be. We don't know. Well, I'm just natural gas. Sometimes there's too much gas in a confined area and it's too rich. It won't ignite. Conversely, there's too little gas in a confined area and there's not enough to support combustion explosion. So it has to hit a range of how much gas is inside that confined area, which that's what eventually it fills up that area, hits that, you know, sweet spot, if you will, and then it explodes. It's like I said, it's like
Rumble's
TNT,
not even showing up properly.
Going off, and we've heard people describe it in that manner. Lifted the roof off, threw it in the street. The windows exploded out. which, you know, that's a concern from the standpoint of injuries for the people that were working on the front lawn in the street area, is flying debris. So we're hoping they're okay, but that's very dangerous, no question.
Yeah, we are still waiting to get an update from PG&E. We know that those leaders, those spokespeople are on the scene, likely gathering information. We expect to hear from them at any point now. We have been getting the updates from the Alameda County Fire Department. Mark, I want to talk about, you know, oftentimes officials will look at the aftermath of the damage, and I think often of natural disasters. They look at the damage left behind, and that gives them a lot of clues into what to do next with their investigation. When you see what looks like this large gaping hole in the middle of this property that affected these two separate properties, what are you able to gather from that?
Yeah, to your point, what I see from the video that you guys have, which is incredible video, right? In today's world, with the video that we have in security cameras and on Tesla cars, regular cars, we're starting to pick up a tremendous amount of before accident footage. And in this case, we can actually see this house standing, workers milling around, called for a gas leak, and then all of a sudden it just explodes. It ruptures. So at some point, that gas reached that ignition point and just blew everything to smithereens. And now all that debris is going to land and layer. So what they'll eventually do is they've got it cordoned off to some degree, and you see firefighters putting out hot spots. But remember, you can't put that fire out as long as that gas is actually spewing out of that pipe. So they had to go in there, extinguish the surrounding area while allowing the fire to continue to burn, because you don't want natural gas just flowing, because it ends up in a problem like this. So you want that gas to be burning off while you're taking care of the victims and trying to extinguish and rescue people around. They wouldn't shut that or extinguish the gas line until they're able to shut that gas down.
Thank you, Alan.
Mark, I don't know if you saw a few minutes ago, there was some PG&E crews were out there and there was a sparking on a line. Were you able to make sense of what that was by any chance?
No, but based on what you were describing, Andre, I think it might have been transmission lines on the power pole there. Okay. And, you know, as you saw from the initial explosion, you saw that power pole, the electrical lines start to wave and in the wind kind of type of thing. And so they were severed, and that line is still hot electrically. Gotcha. So those ends are broken down and arcing.
All right. Mark, thank you so much. Appreciate your time. Stand by. We want to send things back to Jana Katsuyama, who's on the ground. They're gathering the latest. She's been there for several hours. Jana?
That's right. I'm here with my photographer, Rob Asher, and we are here. And just in the past half an hour, we've seen a significant change in the scene here. They've pulled up most of the lines, the fire lines along here, and packed them up into the trucks, and some of them have left. We've also seen the arrival of some other crews, and I want to point you up to the top there where you see somebody doing some work on electrical lines. I just spoke to Stephen Murray. He was the one who lived a mile away and felt the explosion. Came over here, rushed here because his aunt lives along this street. We just learned she is in her house here, just some houses down, and has no power. They have shut off the power to this area. So she's in her home but has no power. And we do understand that PG&E has a spokesperson who has arrived here on the scene, and we are expecting an update shortly. We also understand from the fire crews that they are going to be talking with us as well. But just to recap for people who are joining us, two properties that were impacted, one house that we saw on that doorbell camera from across the street that they shared with us, the actual explosion of that house. And then there were two properties, they said, the assistant chief said 3 buildings on those two properties were impacted. 2 that appear to be residents, and one that was some sort of warehouse in the back of one of the lots. That was where they were concentrating most of their efforts at fire suppression until just a short while ago.
Hear the blast in the background and see all that rubble shoot into the
Solar
sky.
flares, yeah.
And just a few minutes after this, you're going to see flames shooting up from the wreckage of this house fire. Wow. This started when PG&E said a third-party contract crew was working in this area. They called PG&E to report that they had damaged a gas line, so PG&E came out to cap that gas line. That happened at about 9:25 or so, but then at about 9:35, 9:37, somewhere in that neighborhood, that's that's when this explosion happened. And you could see, if you look closely at this video here, there's a PG&E truck on the front lawn of the house where this video was taken. There's a person standing behind that truck. You're going to see that person duck behind the truck. And then if you look to the left of your screen, you see someone running from the scene. That blast had just happened. As you can see, there was construction equipment in this neighborhood when this happened, and that is because there has been an ongoing construction project. I am told by people who live in this area for at least 2 years here, but I can tell you that according to Public Works, there was a road improvement project that was stretching all the way from Mission Boulevard and Lewelling all the way to Meaglan Avenue, which is just down the street. You might have seen a moment ago that BART a train going across. It was about that area. That's where this improvement project was happening. So they were widening the road, putting pedestrian crossings in, and they were going to install some trees as well. But they were still in the early phases of this. But we have heard stories from neighbors who were not happy about the way this construction project had been going and how it was impacting their lives as well.
Yeah, and if you're just now joining us, you're just now learning the details of all this. Andre mentioned it's been going on since about 9:30 this morning. These crews have been here since about 9:30 this morning, several hours now, putting out fires, putting out flames, making sure that the wires are no longer electrified, trying to make sure essentially that the whole area is safe for anyone nearby, but especially for those first responders that are going in and starting an investigation and trying to clean up some of the mess left behind. I'm James Torres here, joined by Andre Sr. We've been bringing you this coverage since it broke about 10 o'clock earlier this morning.
There's another story let me check into.
On the left side of your screen here, you see the fire department from the Alameda County Fire Department. Firefighters there, about 75 personnel on the scene who have been there since the morning, trying to make sure the situation is safe. They've evacuated.
Another fire? North Austin apartment. There's another fire. Had like a press conference. This one, North Austin. Okay, let's see what's going on in North Austin. Man, I'm sorry, guys, with this connection crap. It's just been a nonstop ordeal. Nonstop ordeal. The regulars know.
Third party? Hi, how you doing? Who are you with? CBS. Got it, thank you. Okay, with the light, do you want me focal point here, here, straight dead center? Got it. I don't like looking at the camera. That looks funky.
Don't look at the camera.
I got you.
Because people at home go, why is he looking at me?
I'm looking into their soul.
Yeah, that's their problem. They're like, oh my God, he knows.
Look, fire safety is everyone's issue.
Check, check, check.
Check 1, 2, 3. Checking audio. White. Ooh, white check. And audio check. 1, 2, 3. See? Look at
Try again. Let's try again.
This one.
To the pits of hell.
183 first, then he started this one.
I've been with the fire department 25 years, and I've been in this area. I mean, we've got different areas there. This is kind of our. Yeah, by all means.
It's a popular area for you guys?
Well, I mean, it's a busy. 8's is down the street. That 183 is a fast run back and forth, so they're a busy one. We have less new buildings here, so we have older buildings that have just had a harder life.
Miriam, thank you. Man, that was earlier. Look at that fire. Woof, thing's raging.
No worries. I don't even know the cool terms that y'all use for CBS. It's 3 things. Called back soon? I don't know.
Yeah, it's cool. Well, they gotta can't call themselves anything but KI.
Oh.
But
In 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3.
It's fine there. It looks fine there. I'll be looking on the other place. It's been a rough day with the internet. Comcast. It's been a rough day. Oh, God. There we go. We're live. Okay, I'll take it, man. Fuck it. We gotta do what we gotta do.
Good afternoon. My name is Andre De La Reza. I'm an assistant chief with the Austin Fire Department. That's Andre, A-N-D-R-E, De La Reza, D-E-L-A-R-E-Z-A, with the Austin Fire Department.
What do you got?
All right. Good afternoon. We are on scene today at 400 West Anderson Lane. We got reports first called in at 1:08 p.m. of fire on a second floor apartment coming from windows and through the roof. Our first units arrived on scene a few minutes later at 1:11 to confirm those reports and to go start an offensive attack. There was a lot of fire there. We started attacking it there, and at 1:21, we upgraded it to a second alarm. Due to the quantity of fires, we went defensive so that we could make sure our incident priorities are always life safety, incident stabilization, and then property conservation. So we went defensive so we could focus on evacuating all the residents out of there. And that there was confirmed reports of partial ceiling collapses in there. Later on, at 1:52, we actually called a third alarm. So this is a third alarm fire. You'll see there's a lot of personnel assigned to this. We did that because we needed more people to work on that. As we're working in this immediately dangerous to life and health situation, a scenario instead of fire, we're on air, we're carrying a lot of equipment. That air is a limited amount, so every 15 to 18 minutes, those people run out of air and we have to cycle them out. Wow. We need to keep them fresh because that is a very intensive work that they're doing. We had footage that was taken early on into the scene that we'll be sharing out through digitally later on so that everyone can have access to it. I'm available for any digitally later on so that everyone can have access to it. I'm available for any additional questions.
Are you going to bring in any buses or anything like that to give people a place to hang out and get out of the sun?
Those are all options available to us. We're working with those residents and the apartment manager and Red Cross to find out what's the most appropriate resources to put towards them. Right now, thankfully, it's a very nice day. We're not dealing with freezing conditions. Otherwise, we'd already have the buses on scene.
Any injuries of your people or people that you know that were residents?
Great question. At this time, no reported injuries from any of those 40-plus people who were evacuated or any of our firefighting personnel.
Is this unusual for an area like this?
No, I mean, it's common throughout Austin. We'll have fires in there. That's why we have such a plethora of different fire stations spread around. We cannot accurately predict where fires are going to happen. What we can do is remain ready and available to address those fires as they go. With a third alarm, it pulls in a lot of resources from around the city. We have an advanced computer-aided dispatching system that allows us to monitor where our personnel and units are spread out through the city. So if we start to see places where it's running thin, that we can move proactively units to those areas so that we can make sure we're maximizing our responses to any part of the city, even when we have a big concentration in one attack in one incident.
What's the name of the complex?
Great question. I've got the address I shared, but I don't know the name of the complex.
I see that there's multiple complexes in the area too. Are you working in conjunction with all of the apartment groups here, or is it mainly hitting just one?
This fire today and this incident was maintained. It was.
Oh, I lost a lot of people.
One apartment complex.
I lost a lot of people.
There are many buildings in this apartment complex, but only 2 of those buildings were affected of the many buildings of this apartment complex.
Do you know how many units were dispatched to this area?
Yes, 20 fire units of 4 personnel each, plus an additional 4 supervisory battalion chiefs were assigned to this incident.
And you said we don't know the cause yet.
Now, cause is going to be determined. We have our arson investigation units on scene. They will continue to do a full investigation as we do on all fires, but we do not allow them in there until we make sure that all life safety is addressed and that the fire is completely mitigated before we start worrying about investigation.
Just one last thing. Since these are older buildings, like you mentioned, how does that kind of change the approach?
All right, so that was Austin, some type of fire out there, apartment fire. Let's see what else. It might be. Are they going to do another press conference?
PG&E vehicles coming in and staging just outside this area. We do understand that a public information officer from PG&E is here on scene and is collecting information, and we're expecting something shortly from them. But a while ago, when we talked to you last, there were people working on the power lines. We are now also hearing the sound of construction jackhammers. There are some people who are kind of going in surrounding that area. There is still a smell of smoke here in the air, but we aren't seeing the same kind of heavy smoke coming in from the site itself. Again, 2 properties, 3 buildings that the assistant fire chief says have been damaged. And we are also expecting an update from the assistant fire chief when PG&E arrives. So they're going to give us an update as to what they're seeing now. That area, again, once they had that fire suppressed, they said they were actually going to try and go in and start the investigation phase of this. So that is something that we're hoping to learn as to what the cause was, what the source was of this fire, whether it was from outside, with the construction project that's been going on here, or if it was something else that was separate internal to the property. So that's what we have right now at the scene, just to give you a little bit of an update.
And Jana, you talked about the fact that they have the fire finally under control here after several hours, and I remember hearing from authorities that the next phase was going to be a search of that property here. With that being said, are there any reports, anyone in the neighborhood talking about anyone who is unaccounted for?
At this point, we haven't. We've been seeing a lot of people kind of coming in. I just spoke with Deborah, who lives next door. Her sister rushed in. She tells me that her house she's been told by the fire crews that it is uninhabitable. So they're going to have to find a place to stay overnight. We've also heard from somebody who lives on the other side of the property that exploded. We haven't heard yet what their status is, but this is having an impact, Alex, throughout the whole neighborhood, not just those 2 homes that were involved in the fire.
And do you get the sense that people will likely be let back in at any point today, or are they all being kept back?
So I just spoke with the guy at corporate that I've been talking to, and he told me that they've been talking to some tech people. They've been talking to some tech people, and he said that they've identified that there's intermittent upstream impairment with the node, but they're trying to find out or trying to isolate where their problem is, where it's coming from. So, I don't know. I guess that's a good sign that they at least can see there's a problem.
He said that she ended up being able to go back inside to get those medications. So that was something, obviously, a lot of stress here for people who live in this area. So that was one, way that they were able to kind of at least get some materials. But she's still here in her bathrobe. So, a lot of people just had to leave at the time of the fire and then now are just trying to figure out what they can do.
Yeah. Jana, let me ask you quickly, too, about the scene that you showed us behind you a moment ago, the off-ramp to Lewelling Boulevard from 238, and you showed us all those fire trucks that were staged right there. Do we have a sense about sort of what their role is going to be, just kind of overhaul of this fire moving forward?
It's a little bit unclear right now. I think they are just in a holding pattern until PG&E comes, because I think they're really relying on PG&E to kind of do an assessment of this situation to be able to find out if they still need that support from the county fire resources, or if it means that they need to have, a little bit more room cleared. But, as you mentioned right there, you can see that they have that staging area. They say that, it'll probably be until PG&E comes, until they give that assessment, before they'll be able to have an all clear of some of these apparatus that are out here.
That makes sense.
Yes, really quick before I do want to ask about the construction that was happening in the area.
So, are they waiting for somebody else to come and speak? Oh God, the internet again. I can't. Maybe I should take a break from this shit, because this thing is annoying and aggravating me. Lord Almighty. Lord Almighty. Lord.
Work, and from what the residents are telling me, they're very upset. I think we had mentioned before, some of them had even gone to the point of trying to file lawsuits against the government to try and stop this. But one of the things that they are concerned about now going forward is if there is any connection between this explosion and the fire and what this construction project is. They are going to want a lot of answers, a lot of reassurance from the government if this project is going to continue. you, because you can see that they are still quite a ways away from completing this project. There's still a lot of work to be done, and we do understand that there were 2 people who were possibly involved with construction who are among those 6 who were taken to the hospital.
Okay, Jana Katsuyama reporting live for us there on the scene. Jana, thank you so much. We'll let you keep gathering some information and check back in with you as soon as PG&E comes up to the podium for that press conference. You can see there, Alex, in her video, it looked like freshly poured concrete. So there was active construction going on there. And in our aerial videos from SkyFox 2, there was a crane. Jana had mentioned she heard digging and the sound of drilling. There was a crane at the property right outside of where that explosion happened. It looked like it was getting ready to drill into that freshly poured concrete, that sidewalk there, and you can see them still working and appearing to do some type of work in that area where all of this has been blocked off because of the explosion. Jana was live for us right near the Highway 238 interchange, or not interchange, but the on and off ramps, I should say. Right. California Highway Patrol had to shut those down between East 14th and Lewelling Boulevard, and as well from Mission to Paradise Boulevards. As far as we know, those areas still do remain closed off. She mentioned 6 people injured. It's unclear what their statuses are, but we do know that all 6 were taken to local hospitals, and at least 2 people were seen being put on stretchers and put into ambulances and taken away from that scene. Smoke, of course, billowing into the sky when this happened for a very long time, and then an ensuing fire that followed from that explosion. So you can imagine how difficult it's going to be for crews to go in there, firefighters to kind of comb through that entire property and make sure they didn't miss anything and make sure they didn't miss anyone if there are, in fact, any other additional victims or survivors.
Yeah. And I think Jana made a really important point here about just sort of the broad impact of this explosion and the resulting fire here, because obviously when you see that doorbell camera, the blast happens at a single property, but just the force from that explosion, you can just see from those aerial shots, it obviously caused damage in a number of surrounding homes and people whose homes may be damaged to the point where they're uninhabitable, as Jana alluded to. This means this is a long-term disaster, for lack of a better term, for those folks. If they can't stay in their homes, they're obviously going to need a place to stay for quite some time. So let's bring in Crystal Bailey. She's also on the ground here near Hayward at the scene of this explosion. Crystal, what are the updates you're getting?
Yeah, I've been speaking with neighbors who have been just on looking and really trying to grasp what happened. I'm here with Oscar Vasquez here. You live maybe a couple of houses down, 4 or 5 houses down. Yeah. Tell me how it felt when you heard the explosion and what was going on for you.
Oh, at first I thought it was an earthquake, and then I was like, wait, that was too quick for an earthquake. And then I saw, I thought it was either like a semi-truck or one of the excavators fell over. And then I came outside, saw everybody crowding around. I saw the smoke coming out from the house, and I was like, oh no, it's even worse.
Yeah, you started recording, you started taking pictures. You mentioned to me earlier that this construction project has been happening for a better part of a year, and some neighbors are pretty upset about that. What's been your take on that?
My take is just that there's just needed to be a lot more communication, not only within themselves, but with us. It just felt like there's not been a lot of communication to what they were going to do, what's been happening. It's also just should have been taken a lot sooner of time to be done. There's been construction projects all over the street and all over the area that's been done within a year to less than a year to like 6 months. So this has been 1+. So, and not even looking to be done because they haven't even done the other side of the street yet. So I don't know when it's going to be done now.
Yeah, and you mentioned there's some bike lanes that they're putting here where your property was. Talk to me a little about what you saw when you came out here. You saw folks coming out. Yeah. You saw some injuries. What did you see?
What I saw initially was I saw the smoke. I got a little closer, and then as things were freaking out, there were some workers trying to get everybody clear, and then I saw a couple people getting pulled out. An older woman and possibly her daughter. I'm not sure. I don't know the neighbors that well, but yeah, they appear to be pretty injured.
And then did you say you saw workers also injured?
Yeah, they were being worked on after the fact. I don't think they were too injured because they were still standing, moving around. Not super disoriented, but they were getting looked at by paramedics and did get taken away shortly after.
You mentioned to me earlier that you thought this all could have been prevented.
Yeah, 100%. Like I said earlier,
Prevent
it was just there should have been a lot more communication. I feel like the fact that they had to call PG&E after the fact to come in due to whatever had happened, they should have already been out here. And honestly, does better in like Pleasanton. I don't want to pull that card, but I feel like that this stuff doesn't happen in Pleasanton, in Livermore, Danville, other places that are unincorporated. This stuff doesn't happen. Things are done way faster, but it just has to happen to a predominantly, colored community.
Colored
And
community?
you live 2 houses down, you
Oh,
felt
it's
that-
racist.
that
Racism.
eruption. Do you have any words for some of the neighbors that you saw getting pulled out there?
It's
Maybe that's why my internet's bad.
I've
It's
lost
racism.
family members too to a lot of stuff, and I just feel for them too, because not only do I feel for them, like it just could have been any one of us. They could have nicked any one of these gas mains all around the
All
street.
right, maybe I should get off for now. Because this shit
I
is like
feel bad that it had
ridiculous.
to happen to them, but it's like I said, it just could have been prevented.
Okay, thank you, Oscar. And we're still waiting to hear back from PG&E and some officials that are expected to.
I think I'm going to hop off for now because I don't know what to do with this internet shit. And it's very frustrating and annoying. And so I'm going to take a break. Maybe I'll reset the modem and let these people do whatever it is they're going to supposedly do. It's ridiculous, man. Like, it's just, the internet's just so fucking bad. I don't know what to do. Maybe try streaming in 1080 or something. Maybe that's what I have to do until they fix the problem. Stream in 1080 at the lowest bit rate. It's crazy, dude. Fucking crazy with this company. I have T-Mobile. I have T-Mobile home internet. I have Starlink and I have Comcast. I have 3 internets.